I've had the opportunity to meet real heroes, people who've risked their lives to save the lives of others with the belief that they were going to die, and they didn't. And when asked, why did you do it, they all say something similar, which is they would have done it for me. It's external. And so we have to take the time to foster and take care of people around us, to nurture our relationships, because when we're going to be doing something difficult, when we're going to be swimming upstream, when we're going to be innovating and doing something different, there are days we're going to doubt ourselves, there are days we're going to get knocked in our ass, there are days that storms are going to rise, and we have to have people who say, I got your back. We need to do this. We need you. The world needs you. There are 5 practices in order to lead with an infinite mindset. You have to have a just cause. You have to have trusting teams. You have to have a worthy rival. You have to have a capacity for existential flexibility, and you have to have the courage to lead. So, just cause. We have to give our people something to advance. A cause so just that they would be willing to sacrifice their interests in order to do so. In other words, turn down a better paying job, or frequent business trips, or working late hours. And though I may not like those things, I do them because it feels worth it, because I believe in what I'm a part of here, because I feel that I'm helping advance. Because there's no achieving in the infinite game. The goal is not final achievement, the goal is advancing, to progress in the infinite game. And to have that vision of an idealized state of the world that all men are created equal, right? It's an ideal that a nation is striving towards, that will never actually get there, but will die trying. That's the point. And we can offer people the same thing inside an organization. In fact, we have to give them something to advance. Now, how is this different from the why? A why comes from the past. It is an origin story. Every single one of us has our own unique why. It is our birthright. It comes from the sum total of how we were raised as kids. It is objective. You have one, and you have one for the rest of your life. The only one, right? And the rest of our lives are about making the decisions that help us keep in balance with our why. A just cause doesn't come from the past. A just cause is about the future. It's about where we're going, right? You can have multiple just causes. You can have one professionally, you can have one personally, you can have one for your family, you can have one for your church, and we're involved in all of these. There's massive pressure put on people, especially young people, to what's your vision? Well, we're not all Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. We're not all visionaries. We don't have to have a vision, but we do have to find a vision, that we can find someone else's vision, and we are so compelled by it that we want to make it our own. That's what it means to go work for a company with a visionary leader, that we believe in that vision so clearly that we take their vision and we make it our own. And we will happily contribute our work, our effort, in order to advance what is now my vision. Right? Martin Luther King had a vision. He stood on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial and told us his vision, but his vision became our vision. So I may not have come up with that vision, but I found it, and I'd like to devote time and energy to help advance it, even beyond him. We have to give our people a just cause. We have to have trusting teams. We have to create environments inside our organizations in which people feel psychologically safe, safe enough to raise their hands and say, I made a mistake or I need help. The absence of trusting teams means we have groups of people lying, hiding, and faking. And that comes from good old-fashioned leadership. Leadership is not about being in charge. It's about taking care of those in our charge. And the very responsibility of a leader is not to drive performance. Leaders are not responsible for the results. Leaders are responsible for the people who are responsible for the results. And the problem is we don't teach people how to lead, right? When you're very, very junior, we give people tons of training how to do their jobs. Some people get advanced degrees how to do their jobs so that they'll be good at them. And if you're really good at your job, we'll promote you. And eventually you get promoted to a position where you're now responsible for the people who do the job you used to do, and we don't teach you how to do that. So how can we expect people to be good at their jobs if we don't train them how to do it? Like, would you go see a doctor that didn't go to medical school? No. So why would we work for a leader who has no training in being a leader? That's why we get managers. That's why we get micromanagers. That's why we get toxicity. It's not because they're bad people. It's because they don't know what they're doing. And they're making it up as they go along. And those lucky times that we get to work for a great leader, well, they were lucky that they probably had a great leader before them, or they learned it somewhere else, or maybe they had a terrible leader and they committed to do the total opposite of everything. The point is, they learned it. Well, we have to teach leadership so that leaders can create environments in which all of us can work to our natural best. That produces trusting teams.
I don't want to derail because we have 3 more, but I think this is so important. What, in a crash course format, like what does that type of leadership look like? How do you create the environment where people are going to thrive and create those results that you're talking about?
You're asking me the question, what does it mean to be healthy? You're asking me the question, what does it mean to be a great parent? Like, I don't have 5 things to be a great parent, right? It's a lifestyle. And it comes number 1 with the commitment that I'm responsible for the life of another human being, the growth of another human being. The closest thing to leadership is parenting. You have to be an infinite student of parenting. You know, you want to be a parent, you ask your friends, you ask your own parents, you join groups, you read magazines, you watch talks, whatever it is, you're constantly consuming how to deal with this constantly changing challenge of being a parent. And it's ups and downs and successes and failures. You know, and that's what it is. Leadership is the same. Great leaders are students of leadership. No matter how achieved they may be, they're still learning. And it's a lifestyle. It's the lifestyle of what I need to do to look after people, which includes things like listening, learning how to give and receive feedback, learning how to have effective confrontations, how to discipline when necessary in a way that's constructive. Roam the halls, get to know people, learning what it means to ask somebody questions. How do you ask questions? You know, like some people are naturally good at being curious about other human beings, and some people are uncomfortable because they're introverts or whatever, socially awkward. But we can learn, you know, how do you learn to remember people's names? Oh, I'm bad at names. No, you've just decided you're bad at names. We can learn to be good at names so that when we walk down the hall and say, hey, Tom, oh my God, he remembers my name. It's a nice feeling. It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle. There are many, many things we have to do and constantly work on to be a great leader, to create that environment.
So that was 2, trusting teams.
Yep. 3, worthy rivals. This one's a funny one. This one I actually get more questions on than any of the others, believe it or not. I'll tell the story. So there's another guy who does what I do. He's extremely well respected. He does extremely good work. I hate him. I haven't you know, he's always been very nice to me when I've seen him professionally. I have an irrational hatred of him. And whenever his name comes up, it drives me nuts. Like people bring it, like we hired him, and I was like, good. You know? And because I hate him, I'm really competitive with him. And so I will go online and look at my book rankings, and I'll immediately check his. And mind you, I don't look at anybody else's, just his. And if I'm ahead, I've got this like smug feeling. And if he's ahead, I get really pissed off, you know? So anyway, we had the opportunity to speak at the same event. I don't mean like me in the morning, him in the afternoon. Like we were interviewed together on the stage. And the interviewer thought it would be fun if, if we introduced each other. And so I went first. And then I looked at him and I said, you make me really insecure. All of your strengths are all of my weaknesses. And when your name comes up, it makes me really uncomfortable. And he looked at me and he said, funny, I feel the same about you. The reason I had such an irrational hatred of him had nothing to do with him. It had to do with me. He's my worthy rival. His strengths revealed to me my own weaknesses. And instead of confronting and taking a hard look at myself and evaluating those weaknesses and working on those weaknesses, it was much easier to take all of that negative energy and direct it towards him. In other words, to be competitive, to want to beat him, right? It was a very cathartic experience. We've since become very close friends and worked together. I no longer check his book rankings. And because we share the same cause, we can actually work together. And so what I recognized was so often in business, we have these competitors, sometimes on our own teams, that we want to beat them. We've all had the experience where one of our colleagues got a promotion and we got upset, we got angry. We got angry at somebody else's success. Think about that for a second. Why couldn't we share in the joy, right? What is it about them that's being revealed in us? That's the problem, right? And so having worthy rivals, instead of competitors are other players we set out to beat. But the problem with that is there's no finish line. And so if we're obsessed with beating the other company, then at some point, sure, you're ahead in whatever metric you chose, until when, right? At what expense, at what cost? That's not sustainable. But rather, the other players inside our industry, outside our industry, on our own teams, we can choose our own worthy rivals. Their strengths reveal to us our weaknesses, and by having our weaknesses revealed to us, it means we have the opportunity to grow and improve. And the infinite game, at its core, is basically a game of constant improvement. And so our worthy rivals reveal to us our weaknesses and our opportunities to improve. Existential flexibility is the willingness to make profound strategic shifts in order to advance your cause, 180 degrees, right? This is not the daily flexibility that you need in business. A leader, or even us as individuals, may never have to perform an existential flex, and at most you might ever have to do it in an entire career once, or never. But the responsibility of any leader is to prepare their organization for an existential flex should it need to happen. So what is an existential flex? So the best case is really Steve Jobs and his just cause. Jobs and Wozniak had a very clear just cause, which is to empower individuals to stand up to Big Brother, right? They're revolutionaries at heart. And they saw the personal computer as a brilliant tool to help them advance that, to empower individuals to stand up to Big Brother. And Steve Wozniak imagined a time in which an individual could compete in business against a corporation thanks to a personal computer. Prescient, right? Apple's already had success from the Apple I, the Apple II. It's already a big company. Steve Jobs is already a famous CEO. And in December of 1979, Jobs and a bunch of his senior executives go and visit Xerox PARC, which was Xerox's R&D division. And Xerox shows them a new invention of theirs called the graphic user interface that allows a user to click a mouse on a desktop to move icons and folders to use the computer instead of having to learn an entire computer language. Now, Jobs, who believes in empowering individuals, sees this technology and says to his team, we have to invest in this graphic user interface thing. And the voice of reason, I guess, in the team says, Steve, we can't. We can't do it. We've already invested millions of dollars and countless man hours in a different strategic direction. If we suddenly change directions, we're going to blow up our own company. To which Jobs actually said, better we should blow it up than someone else. And that decision led to the Macintosh, the first properly graphic user interface computer that had mass market appeal, that was so profound that the entire platform of Windows 2.0, was basically designed to act like a Macintosh. You know? And the reason we all have computers on our desks today, the reason it's a household appliance, the reason any one of us can compete against a corporation is because of this profound shift. He was willing to do that. Now, I call it a capacity for existential flexibility because it's not shiny object syndrome, which, you know, too many entrepreneurs are subjected to, you know. This is it, guys, you know, flavor of the moment. It's done with the very specific reason of advancing the cause. I found a better way to advance the cause. And you have to have the just cause, otherwise how do you know what to shift? And you have to have the trusting teams because you will put the organization through short-term hell. And the numbers probably will go down in the short term. And the team has to be willing to say, we agree, we understand why you're making the shift, let's do this. And it's gonna suck, but we're in. And they hunker down and they figure it out. If you don't have a just cause, you're literally just chasing something. And if you don't have the trusting teams, this happens a lot where sometimes the leader has the just cause, but the team doesn't know it. And if you don't have the trusting teams, then people will think you've lost your mind and they'll start abandoning ship. Or you respond to the pressures from Wall Street or outside because the numbers start to go down. But existential flexibility, like I said, if you don't have to do it, you have to prepare the organization for your successor to be able to do it, which means keep the cause alive and maintain the trusting teams. The reason this takes courage to completely change our mindset, A, about the game that we're actually players in, and how we want to approach these things, and do we want to shift our mindset in our organizations to prepare for the infinite game, to be organized for the infinite game. It takes courage because we're going to be swimming upstream in a world that is very finite driven. You know, the pressures on us are overwhelming from Wall Street or our own egos or from internal incentive structures or our bosses, whatever it is. The pressures are overwhelming for us to play the finite game. And so how do you stand up to massive external pressure? Courage. And courage is something that comes from relationships. You know, it's external. A world-famous trapeze artist would never attempt a brand new death-defying act for the first time without a net. They would never do it. So why do we think that we could do something difficult without external support too? I've had the opportunity to meet real heroes, people who've risked their lives to save the lives of others with the belief that they were going to die. And they didn't. And when asked, why did you do it? They all say something similar, which is they would have done it for me. It's external. And so we have to take the time to foster and take care of people around us, to nurture our relationships, because when we're going to be doing something difficult, when we're going to be swimming upstream, when we're going to be innovating and doing something different, there are days we're going to doubt ourselves. There are days we're going to get knocked in our ass. There are days that storms are going to rise, and we have to have people who say, I got your back. You need to do this. We need you. The world needs this. Keep going. I believe in you, And so courage comes from not only our willingness to do that for others, but then their willingness to do it for us. And if we commit ourselves to a just cause and we're willing to do those things, then the great thing is we take a lot of people with us and change the world for the better. And isn't that sort of the point of an infinite life? To leave this world in better shape than we found it, to leave the companies that we work for in better shape than when we started, to leave our families stronger and better capable than they can do without us. Isn't that what it means to live an infinite life? That we can literally live on beyond our own lives. Don't try and influence that which you cannot influence. Don't control that which you cannot control. An infinite mindset means that is something I can't do, but I can influence and take care of the people to the left of me and to the right of me. I can take care of the people who work for me. I can even take care of the person I work for. Sometimes we have a toxic boss, not because they're bad, but because we don't understand the pressure they're under. Sometimes to simply exhibit empathy to our boss. Hey boss, you were really harsh on us today. Everything all right? What's going on? I'm worried about you. I'm here. We can succeed together. We're here to help you. If no matter where we are inside our organization, leadership is not about rank or authority. Leadership is taking responsibility for the people around us. And so anybody on any team at any rank at any level can be a leader. The first choice is that we have to want to be. A dear friend of mine, Lieutenant General George Flynn from the Marine Corps, said that the first criterion to being a leader is you have to want to be one. So any of us can volunteer to be a leader. And that's what you do. You commit yourself to seeing that the people with whom we work on a daily basis love coming to work. They feel that someone's got their back. They feel supported. They feel that they have top cover. They feel someone cares about them as a human being, listens to them, knows their story, allows them to be themselves. We can be that leader. And what you start to see is those teams become really high performing. Those teams become super tight. And you start to hear rumors across the company because everybody wants into that team because apparently it's a great team to work with, to work on. And before you know it, one of those people goes and moves to another team and they take everything that they learned, because leadership is learned, and they do it for another team. And if we take that infinite mindset, then eventually the tail will wag the dog. And it doesn't matter if it's this CEO or another CEO, because we will outlast whoever's in charge right now, and that's the goal. We're doing this for the good of the organization. We're doing this for the good of the cause.